From EPAWA Weather Consulting, headquartered in Worth Whitehall, Pennsylvania, this is Weather Weeklies, an informative video of the ins and outs of weather that affect you most in the EPAWA coverage area. The thoughts and opinions expressed in this video are those of the forecaster alone and may not reflect those of the staff of EPAWA Weather Consulting LLC as a whole, nor its constituents. Now, without further ado, here is meteorologist Bobby Martrich with Weather Weeklies.
Good Sunday morning to another edition of Weather Weeklies for Sunday, December 3rd. We are now getting closer to the start of winter. I know some of you recognize meteorological winter, which started on December 1st. I do not, but, we are starting to get colder, and we will have some snow chances coming up. We're just going to have to exercise a little bit of patience, but I do have a target date for you here in this Weather Weeklies video of when we think things start turning around. But it was always, if you go over the past month here, the past month I've been doing these videos since the beginning of November when they started. I was always telling you about how it's probably not starting off with gangbusters early in the winter, but it's not necessarily backloaded either. I don't think we're going to be waiting that long to get into the snowier pattern, but it will come, and I'm very confident it will come. I'm still sitting here on December 3rd telling you that it's going to occur, so I'm going to kind of give you a kind of like a defending my thesis kind of thing. I'm going to give you a defense of why I think this is going to happen. It's not just like, well, maybe it'll happen where you keep kicking the can down the road and it never shows up like last year, right? Now, we weren't kicking the can down the road. We were telling you it's a crap pattern. Last year was a crap pattern. That's what it was, and we had very little snow. This year, there's a lot more hope and a lot more excitement about it, and I'll show you why in today's video. So first of all, if you're not signed up for the winter text alerts or the premium forum, this is now a good time to do so. We are in this downtime. It's not going to last too much longer. We're going to have the need for snow and ice and all that stuff, all that jazz alerts on a county level basis. So the text alerts that come right to your phone on a county level basis. You don't have to wait for maps to come out publicly to get that information, and it'll give you exact timing, which is even better. That's really the whole point of it. And then the premium forum is where we really break down the model analysis of any incoming storms. This is not going to be much longer before this kicks in, so you want to get on this now. And the link is not only here at the top, but it's also scrolling across the top of the video here in yellow. You see that has the address in there, so if you forget the address of the video, what did he say? There it is. It's right there. Okay. Here's our long-range chart here for Friday. Now, you'll notice there are some above-average periods mixed in here. Okay, there are some slightly below-average periods mixed in here, too. It's a lot of transient up and down stuff. There's nothing really locking in yet, but until you can get consistently colder than average is not going to be until I think the last full week of the month, and that's going to start around the 22nd, 23rd. Okay, up until that point, you see a couple spots in here, and I forgot to get my little pen out to highlight some things here. Let me get that up real quick. Is it going to load? Yep, there it goes. Okay. So there's a couple things here. You got a couple near to slightly above average periods. This is not a blowtorch pattern in this, and even in the middle of this is near average, right? So this is a long period between, say, the 9th and the 22nd where you're favoring milder than average conditions. So that's basically the middle 2 weeks of the month. Okay, and it is what it is, but that's not too far from what we typically see in a December El Nino pattern. The only reason it started off, with a little bit of cold here in the beginning was somehow tied to a little bit of blocking we had in the beginning of the month, and it's just not enough where it's overcoming most of the cold. So once that relaxes, it's going to be free to bring in some milder air. Now, it's not going to be blowtorch warmth. It's just going to be, you might have a couple days in the 50s yet, which is still above average for this time of year. You should be in the 40s now. So it's not gonna be like 70s and stuff like that. We're not getting that warm. We did have obviously periods of rain coming through. This is the system coming through today, and then the next thing we have listed here is maybe a few rain snow shower chances. This is not a big deal. It's not going to produce anything. There's a couple systems that are going to be Tuesday night and maybe the first part of Wednesday, and also again at the end of the week. And there's really just a couple snow showers, flakes falling, basically. That's it. That's all you're dealing with. No accumulations are expected from that, or very little. And most of those are kind of disappearing a little bit, those systems. We also have no winter storm signal here in this outlook, and that's because I don't expect anything in the foreseeable future for me, which is going to be up until at least the solstice. The winter solstice is the 21st. That's when we officially calendar winter starts. I don't see anything before that. I don't. I do think after that point, especially when you get past like the 22nd, 23rd, and yes, that could include Christmas. It's possible. But I think once you get in a late month period and then also into January, we're going to change this around a little bit. So we went in our opening bid for January, slightly above average snowfall, and still have near average snowfall in December because it doesn't really take a whole lot. Here's what December average snowfall is, and you can get this in that last week of December. Again, if it's going to happen in that last week, I think, most notably. These are not astronomical numbers to come up with. You can get one storm, one or two, and they could be minor, but they still add up and they count. And I think you can still get that here in the last week of December. And then January, these values go up, as you see in the right column. And it's a notable increase from December to January. And then going to February, it's even more. Okay, so the highest snowfall month we have across the region is actually February. And I do think it's going to follow that climatological average stuff this year. Year-to-date snowfall, some places are on the board, and it's because of that we had a little lake effect snow on it was the 28th of November. So it was the very tail end of November. We had that lake effect snow event. A few places, even Philadelphia and Newark, got a trace out of it. So did Harrisburg. Allentown did not measure anything. Either did Atlantic City. And actually, I live in the Lehigh Valley, the northern part of the Lehigh Valley. And we were getting some snow showers here that weren't making it to the airports. The airport got nothing. But here's what normal is year to date. Still not a whole lot of what we were expected to this point on December 3rd, but this is where we're at right here, your normal year-to-date versus, and they're still red because they're below average. Once it goes above average with time, we'll change this to green for each location. Now, I'm going to give you some technical background stuff, and this is, again, defending my point here. I don't just put things out there, and it frustrates me because I get people asking me all the time, well, so-and-so has this. Why are you different? Well, whether it's our long-range outlooks that I do written, whether it's these Weather Weeklies videos, or if it's we're doing a weather map, a snow map, and we have a full discussion in there. In all three cases, we thoroughly defend our position. Okay, these other sources that are saying that are people coming to me and saying why are they different? They don't defend themselves. They just say, here's what we have. We have 3 to 6 inches of snow, and then maybe we'll have 1 to 3. Well, why are you different? Why are they more? Well, we defended ourselves. Why don't you ask them? All right, because they won't defend their whole point, and that's what that's what I aim to do here in these videos. So here's what our current background stated is. This is the El Nino, the strong El Nino. We are in a strong El Nino. It is still east weighted. No matter what anybody wants to tell you, it is still east weighted. It is not a basin-wide event yet. I do think during this month it gets there. We're not there yet. It's the beginning of December. Give it a couple weeks and things will change a little bit. Here's where the changes are in these regions over the past couple weeks. And you see the warmest areas are right in the middle. This is our 3.4 is east of the international date line. So is obviously 3. That's even further east. But the temperatures here are all in these areas. The easternmost areas are all above 2 degrees Celsius, which would actually put it in Super Nino territory. Once you go above 2, but as a composite average for the entire basin, which includes Nino force, not quite there. Okay, so it's very warm. It's on the verge of Super Nino, but not quite. And a lot of this went up because of a westerly wind burst that we had at 850 millibars near the international date line within the past week, and that's why you had that surge. It is a temporary surge, though. It's not going to stay that way, and we're already seeing temperatures drop. So the next week, we're going to see a big difference from what we saw this week, and you'll see some blues on here instead of reds. They're going to be going down, not up. Okay, and that's pretty much in all regions. There is another westerly wind burst occurring this week, so we're going to have another little mini surge, and then it's going to go back down to normal again, and I think that's going to be it, and we level out. That's what I think. As far as the projections from of ENSO for November, this is the most recent update that we have. We are right here. When I see where the red line is, and you see it kind of levels off here, and then it starts going down toward the end of winter. And I don't think it gets down to moderate territory by the end of winter. I think that's going to happen more like in April or so, maybe beyond. But we're going to be definitely a strong El Nino this year. That's not what's in question. I just don't think we're going to rise much more above what we do unless you get a very brief burst. It's not going to be, and it's because of a westerly wind burst near the equator and near the international date line like we've had this past week. So this is what it looks like graphically of where the warmest waters are. They are all right in here, okay? Now it needs to continue to balance out for the western regions, which is here, which is not quite as warm as the eastern 3 regions. And you can see that here in the colors. They're a little bit lighter shade than what's east of there. So until this goes it's getting there. It's starting to balance out, but it needs to be a little bit more basin wide to help us if you are a snow lover, not so much east weighted, okay? And that will happen, I think, this month. And I've been saying that for weeks now, that I think it's going to happen. I'm not changing my position at this point, okay? Over the last 15 days, here's your temperature change, and you see it does warm up a little bit here. This is over the last 15 days now. It does warm up a little bit over here in the western regions compared to the east. So it is balancing a little bit, and it is going to take a little bit of time to do that, and we're not quite there. But just more specifically over the last 7 days, you're seeing, again, the eastern regions cooler at a faster rate than the western regions. So we're playing a balancing act. We're catching up. We are going to be basin-wide eventually. And this is what you want if you're a snow lover on the East Coast, is a more basin-wide Niño, not so much east-weighted. Because if you look at some of the past years that were the best snowfall years across our region, which are here, this one, even in a very strong El Nino, this kind of half credit there because of that one big storm we had in January 2016. These were big years. I know it's moderate, but that's not the point. The point is these were all, none of these were east-based Niños. None of them. If you're east-based Niños, like this one, was terrible, okay? Like this one was terrible. It's not good for you if you have an east-based El Nino, so it's very important that this spreads out, and I think it does. Here's what this westerly wind burst did. This is a graphical representation of what it did. So the sea surface temperatures were rising, right? And then all of a sudden it started to decline, and then boom, westerly wind burst. It jumps up, and then now it's heading back down again. So this is what a westerly wind burst does. It gives you a sudden surge of warmth in those regions, and then it will go back down as soon as the wave passes, and that's where we're at now. So you're going to see a lot of things on Twitter and whatever else, people saying, oh, well, Super Niño's coming. This is just a temporary thing. Relax. I don't think we're quite going to be there, but we are going to definitely be a strong Niño this year. That's not disputed. One of the things that I want to take a look at going forward here, and this is interesting. This is very interesting. What I found most interesting. This is the December pattern on the right. This is what the European Monthly's forecast was, but the 500 millibar pattern in all El Niños that are moderately strong or east-based in the month of December since 1876 looked like this at the 500 millibar level, and it just so happens that when we look at the mid-December projection, take a look. They take a mental snapshot of where all these pieces are. Right, cooler down here in the southwest United States, a little milder up here in our area. Obviously, a trough here in the Gulf of Alaska region, right? Here's what the projection is for the 18th of December. Wow, that looks almost identical. Almost identical. Isn't it crazy how something like this that is an anomaly is exactly what happens in this pattern? So the models understand that, hey, it's going to be mild here for the next 2 weeks. And then again, this is the 18th. So I told you it's going to be all up till about the 22nd when we start seeing some change. So here we are still milder than average, and all the cold. Again, you got the southwestern U.S. and also the Alaska, Gulf of Alaska region, just like is typical in December El Ninos. If you averaged all of them together as a composite average since 1876, all the El Ninos in December look like this, okay? All right, so that's it. We're not, well, the average does, okay? So it's not far-fetched to see this in December, right? Now, if we go to what a January looks like here in the same scenario, we see cold undercutting the southern United States and moving up the eastern seaboard. So we have cold coming into our area, and we also have a stormier pattern. And this is what the outlook looks like here in the month of December. And if this so happens, I put this in a loop, look what happens. Late December through January, through mid-January, this is what happens. All the milder air, the higher heights retreat, and we get the cold and the snow coming into the picture here. So this is pretty amazing how it's following exactly the thought. So if you did I don't do winter outlooks, but if I did, and I was doing it just based on this, thinking that it was going to progress in a certain manner because that's what the analogs say, which is this. By the way, here's January, right? And there's February. Boom. February's really nuts around here as far as snow is concerned. If I'm just doing an outlook just based on this, I would say that we were going to have a pretty wild winter, but it wouldn't be right away. I don't do winter outlooks, though, but I have been telling you over the Weather Weeklies videos the last couple of weeks that this is going to happen, and this is exactly what the climate models are projecting here for late month this month, and then also at least the first 2 weeks of January. It doesn't go beyond the middle of the month here, so it stops. But And it's uncertain that when we get beyond that point what it's going to do. We're going to have to wait and see. But I think you might have a little bit of a relaxation period at the end of January temporarily, and then we go back into the tank here for February, maybe in a big way with some bigger snowfall. Here is the GFS Ensemble Matt and Julian oscillation projection. Right now we are right here in phase, right teetering on phase 3, phase 4, about to enter phase 4. These are all torch phases right now. These are phases that are very, very warm right here, okay? So you want to get out of these phases and move into phase 7, phase 8, phase 1, phase 2. As we get into winter, these are the phases you want to be in. And we're going to be cycling through these warmer phases, which is why the next couple of weeks we're not going to be, we're going to be favoring the warmer side of average up through, again, about the solstice, maybe 22nd, right? And that's because when you get into phase 7, it's the 14th, but there's a 7 to 10 day lag to feel the effects of a Matt and Julian oscillation change. So if we get into phase 7, which is a lot more favorable in late December and January, which is what we're looking at, the delayed effects to feel the effects of that from a sensible weather standpoint are not going to be until 7 to 10 days later. So you add that to the 14th, and what do you get? Around the 22nd, somewhere. That's about right, okay? And then you stay in the colder phases here through phases 8 and whatnot. But this is important for intra-seasonal stuff down the line. We are going to change. We're seeing everything lining up that we're going to see this change. It's just a matter of exercising patience in the meantime. And I know not many people have patience because we've had a couple of really down years as far as snowfall is concerned. So if you're a snow lover, you feel like you're gypped and you're tired of waiting. I get it. But you're going to have to in this case. Here is the convection I wanted to show you. The greatest convection right now is out here in these areas. This is that same area that I'm circling right here with my mouse is where the best convection is anywhere along the equator in the entire globe. Well, guess where that is? Phase 3, phase 4, exactly where it is. Okay. Now, the idea here is that this is going to move eastward like this, and it's going to take, a couple weeks to do that. It gets to phase 7, what I say, the 14th? Okay, so it's going to take some time to get from there to there, but when it does, it's going to be in the more favorable phases, and that will lead to, and just about everything is indicating we're going to have is that not only the favorable MJO phases, but also some Canadian blocking to deal with, possibly at the end of the month and in the beginning of January. So that is a down the road thing too. That is a up to 2 weeks projection, but the pattern is there. It's going to give us into more of a blocking pattern after that point. And we know that the convection is going to be favored in these areas, but that's because the warmest temperatures anywhere in the globe are hanging right around the international date line. This is phase 7 right here. This is phase 8 and phase 1. This is all in that area that you want to be in winter if you want the cold and snow to dominate. And I do think we're going to have a couple weeks of that heading into, once we head into the just before Christmas period all the way through at least the middle of January, if not longer. Here's what we look like for the next 2 weeks on EPS. Not much, okay? Not much. And we're not expecting much because it goes through the evening of December 17th. Again, I said it's going to be all the way up to about the 22nd, where we have the milder risks. So it's not like you can't get anything in here, but it's going to be very, very minuscule up until the 22nd. I know there was some people getting excited about the GFS showing these monster snowstorms here over the past couple runs of the 18Z runs, the off-hour runs especially, 18 or 6C. Listen, it's the pattern doesn't support it right now. Sometimes you got to look at other things besides the operational guidance, and like the ensembles were nothing, or showing nothing. So these operational runs in seasonal transition will do some crazy things. This is a case of that, and they're going to be, you'll see a big storm. Don't get excited if you see anything before the 22nd. It's a big storm. Can you get something that is a thread the needle scenario where it comes in at the perfect time, maybe at night when it's colder? Or maybe coupled with a very brief transient cold shot where you get something. Sure, it's possible, but this is what you're looking at generally on the ensembles as a composite mean over the next 2 weeks. Not much, if anything at all, okay? And I can actually extend this beyond the evening of the 17th and take it all the way to the 22nd and probably say, nope, probably not, okay? Once you get beyond that, though, we go from the 23rd through January 16th. I'm going to do a loop. This is a 7-day loop, okay? Watch this. How it all of a sudden just picks up. This is a 7-day average going all the way through that period, all the way through January 16th. And you see how it picks up pretty quickly and maintains. This is telling me not only you're going to get snow involved here, you're going to have several shots at it during that period, okay? It's not just one storm. This is a 7-day loop that's moving forward, starting the 23rd, going to the 16th of January. So there's several here that give you plenty of chances of snow here. And how big they are, we don't know yet. This is just an ensemble mean of 50 members. So the consensus here is that we are going to turn snowier here, and it makes sense. If we have if we have the Matt and Julian oscillation in the correct phases where we want it, you have a El Nino transition to more basin-wide event. You have some Canadian blocking getting involved. These are all things that are going to contribute to, and of course the analogs, which suggest that January is going to turn colder just based on the 500 millibar look. So we have opportunities here. The biggest thing is that we have to be patient over the next couple of weeks. It's just not the best pattern. And I've been telling you this for weeks. We're not starting off with gangbusters here in November or November, December. However, that last week of the month, if it's colder and we get we can still get the near average snow, because again, it's not really that much. Not really that much that you have to expect here in the month of December. We can get to that. And we can do that all in 1 week. It's not hard. So we're going to maintain those projections for now, unless something changes that there's nothing that appears during that week and we have to lower it. But I mean, right now there's certainly a chance there from a probability standpoint, which is all weather is. There is a chance there here at the end of December. Okay, so just be patient a little bit. Milder risks milder risks will be present at times through the end of the third week of December, but not a blowtorch in that period. So we're not getting 60s and 70s, but we are getting some 50s in there on a few of those days, and obviously upper 40s at a time when it should be more like lower 40s, low to mid 40s. So it will be a little bit milder, kind of like this weekend. It's above average this weekend, but it's not like a blowtorch necessarily. It feels nice. It's mild, whatever, but it's a temporary thing. December may not feature blockbuster snow, but we still expect near average snowfall again, most likely last week of December. Colder pattern expected after the solstice. That's the start of winter, 21st. And at least the first half of January. Snow comes, but patience is needed for the next few weeks. That's my biggest takeaway from this video, is that patience is going to be needed for the next couple weeks. I know it's tough to do, but you're going to have to do it for at least until the solstice starts and the actual start of calendar winter, okay? Because it is coming, and I'm very confident in that, but we're just going to have to wait and just persevere in the meantime and watch football and that kind of stuff. I'm EPAWA meteorologist Bobby Marchis. That is this edition of Weather Weeklies for Sunday, December 3rd. Join us again next week and every Sunday throughout the winter season for updates on the long-range forecast. Take care.